All right, everything appears to be in order. Let's go ahead and get started, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, peoples! Back at it again with some more reactions today. Today we're going to be checking out the newest My Hero. Well, actually, let me just do this right. Yo, peoples! Cute92 here, and welcome back to yet another My Hero Academia reaction and review. Now, I feel like I did my intro. I throw myself off so much when I don't do it. It feels like I feel naked, but I don't do my intro. Oh my goodness. But time to move on and time to read the latest chapter. We've been on a 2-week break for both One Piece and My Hero Academia, and now we get to check out the brand newest chapter for today. So let's go ahead and get started with chapter 323, That Single Step. And it shows here that we're at the principal's office, because in the last chapter, it showed Midoriya finally being led back to UA by his friends, after everyone poured their hearts and soul out to him in order to get him to stop doing what he was doing. That car alarm is always going off in the neighborhood. And it even had Bakugo apologizing for everything he has ever done to Midoriya. For the first time in his life, a heartfelt apology for this. Ever since they were just little kids, all the way up until now, he apologized for everything. So that is a massive amount of character development for Bakugo. Then they get to UA and the citizens there thinking that they can run things and make decisions, are saying, like, why did you bring him here? If Shigaraki and All For One are after him, then why did you bring him here? He doesn't need to be here. There's no way we're going to let you in here. Forgetting that the heroes run things. Just showing you that citizens are... that society and the citizens that these people live in, they have become so entitled that they think they can just demand things like that. So I really hope they get their comeuppance at some point. But going forward, let's move on with chapter 323, That Single Step. And they're in the principal's office, with Ida saying, "Sir, you spoke of the UA barrier proving its worth, but at the same time, we understand Midoriya's concerns too. If we are to drag him back to school, we'll need convincing evidence." And then he says, "This concerns the safety and security of the evacuees." And then the principal says, "There is no mere appeal to sentiment. It could be said that Midoriya is now the most valuable battle asset that the heroes have, so no matter what happens next, it would be risky to give him shelter at an unprepared substandard facility. UA is equipped with our nation's most advanced defense technology for that very reason. We pride ourselves on being as well defended as Tartarus even." And then Yaoyorozu says, "But sir, Shigaraki easily broke through Tartarus defenses. Indeed, ever since he attacked UA last year, I have put considerable thought into the threat posed by Shigaraki. Because if you remember, he rotted straight through their steel door the very first time he broke in there, and he just decayed it all the way through. Which is precisely why I've added my own personal touches to the fortifications of UA's defense system. Who knew that was possible? There was much heated debate. As you remember, Principal Nezu is incredibly smart, and he's a bona fide genius. To make a long story short, if an invasion were to begin at this very moment, no harm would come to the evacuees or students. A villain incursion would not succeed. The UA barrier is more than mere walls. UA itself can travel." What? Wait, what? Wait, what? UA is not stationary, it can move? "The grounds are partitioned like a game board, and each section is equipped with mechanisms that can transform it into an underground emergency shelter." Wow, so there's sections to every single inch of UA. So if they need to, they can make all the places, all the evacuee buildings, all the buildings around UA, they can make it sink into the ground. Let me just read through this whole thing, because there's a lot to unpack here. "The grounds are partitioned like a game board, and each section is equipped with mechanisms that transform it into an underground emergency shelter. Then, individual shelters enter a linear maglev network that can send them along any numbers of routes at our discretion. They have underground routes that literally stretch for literal miles, can go in any direction. So if they need to, they can make a singular building go underground and just move it all across. Anywhere they want to. They got a full-on underground network lift area underneath UA. And then Kaminari says, it's like we're living in a giant robot anime. And then Principal Nezu continues saying, however, it would all be for naught if the system itself were to crumble. Therefore, we've fortified the ground with around 3,000 layers of bulwark plates. Should the system detect unusual activity, a countermeasure will activate, and the connecting pillars will unlock, rendering each plate independently mobile. This will significantly delay any incoming attacks, during which time the shelters can speed off to safety. Wow. Principal Nezu thought of everything. Shiketsu was the first to fortify their security system in a similar manner, in the wake of learning that an imposter had posed as a student of theirs. Thinking of Kami and Himiko Toga. It is just one among several other schools with hero courses that could provide a haven should we need to flee. And everyone is just being surprised by this. Shiketsu, and then Seto says, Shiketsu? That's a long ways away. UA is in the east while Shiketsu is in the west. And then both Shoto and Baku are like, yeah, come to think of it. And it says, alluded to in Volume 8 after the supplementary licensing course. So it's really saying that UA is in the opposite direction of Shiketsu High, and they're a long distance away from one another. And then Tokoyami comes in saying, this upgrade seems designed to deal with decay transmitting through objects. But how could you have known at the time of the school festival how his quirk would evolve? Yo, wait a minute. This was formulated all the way back since then? All the way back when the teachers, when All Might and Snipe and everyone, all the higher ups at UA were having their big meeting talking about there could be a possible mole. All the way back then, Principal Nezu put this idea and all the things that they've pretty much just formulated for UA right now into place way back then before Shigaraki even evolved his quirk. Before All Might had his final fight with All For One. Before the students went off to go have their training with the Wild Wild Pussycats, even way back then, before the whole Hisaikai event that went on, and Chisaki and all that, and Eri and everything, Principal Nezu had all of this in place since they had the big meeting talking about the possible mole relaying information back then. And then Principal Nezu says, indeed, there was no existing evidence for such a thing. I relied on my intuition. That is why I cover the expenses myself out of pocket. That's gotta be way more than a few 100 million yen. You got deep pockets, sir. So, back then, Principal Nezu just went off of a gut feeling that this is something we need to do for UA right now. They had no idea that Shigaraki's decay quirk would evolve to be able to go through objects and continue through different objects. All of these preparations that Principal Nezu has created, not only did he pay for out of his own pocket, which, like Kirishima says, could cost a few 100 million yen, but he also did it off of an intuition from literally, I want to say, how long has it been since the events of Shigaraki breaking into UA in order to fight All Might and everyone before with his Nomu way back when? It was after that he came up with this idea. How long has it been? Good God, this principal has thought of everything. And then Endeavor comes in saying, the principal's major contributions to quirk morality of education has made him a man of worldwide renown. That work of his continues to this very day. Whoa. And then Principal Nezu says, lack of understanding, intolerance. It seems we're always just one step away. Try as it might, humanity struggles to make true progress down its path. Issues shift and voices clash, making that single step feel like an impossible journey. In any case, I believe there's a sound argument to be made for him being here with us. Go on, tackle the matter with your full power. And then it cuts back to the civilians demanding, don't let that kid enter UA. Shigaraki'll come for him. UA's guaranteed us we'd be safe here. Keep him out. Get lost, kid. And then it shows Uraraka grabbing Midoriya by the hand. Now remember, Ida's had his moment to talk to Midoriya and get him to see reason. Bakugo has had a moment to talk to Midoriya, apologize for everything, and get him to see reason. Now it's Uraraka's turn, because Midoriya in the last chapter was preparing to just straight up leave after hearing the civilians say, get him out of here, we don't need him here. But then Uraraka grabs him by the hand and says, now it's my turn to help you. And it shows that panel where she grabs him and proceeds to walk through. And now we have Midoriya's mom. Having one for all makes him a Nomu, right? And then it has his mom coming through the crowd saying, Izuku, careful, stay back. And then it has Monoma there with Eri as all this is going on. Too scary. And then it has, dang it, I forgot the kid's name. The kid's name from the Wild Wild Pussycats, the young kid. Go someplace else. We're supposed to let him hide here? And then Seto says, they don't seem convinced. And then it shows 13 looking at her phone, what says, theory, Shigaraki is after a UA student. What on earth are all for one and one for all? Is it true that Shigaraki is targeting a UA student? I'm sorry, the print is very, very small. I had to zoom in my eyes a little bit. Then 13 says, some of them were more understanding earlier, but not all of their doubts could be assuaged, I say. And then President Mike is saying, let's keep calm, folks. And then Best Genius comes up saying, this is a difficult argument to hear coming from school teachers. It was I who made this proposal. Genie? It's Genist! We're only here because we trusted you! Indeed, as the principal has explained, UA is currently the safest place to be. Your safety is our top priority. At first, we decided to take the fight to the enemy. We used Izuku Midoriya as bait in hopes of learning the villain's location. However, our search grid wasn't sufficiently wide enough, and the operation met with limited success. Izuku Midoriya may be the villain's target, but he is also one of our ultimate resources in battle. Allowing him to grow even more worn and frayed could lead to a fatal loss. Is this the optimal course of action? No. We now rely on our backup plan, as it shows the outside walls of UA. I understand why you would not willingly welcome this omen of unease, but please allow him to rest his weary body in this secure stronghold, so that when needed he can once again join the battle in peak condition. And then the civilians listening, and then one of them says, you losers failed, and let Japan turn into this lawless wasteland. And now you failed again. And you're out here telling us to pay the price for more of your mistakes? And then all the civilians just get up in an uproar and says, no way! Some heroes you were! And then Midoriya starts to feel the danger sense. The danger sense starts to tingle all over his body right now. And then President Mike says, no dice. And then, give us a freaking break, all we want! And it shows Midoriya's mom covering her ears and crying as all these civilians are just crying out. And then it says, that unease spreads until it explodes. And then apparently Uraraka jumps over them as they're saying, give us a freaking break. All we want is a safe place to sleep at night. And then Uraraka jumps over the crowd using her gravity quirk. Sorry, a lot of notifications popping up. And then President Mike notices that his microphone is gone. He says, gravity? And then the mother and father of Uraraka says, Ochako? And then she lands on the top of the building. And then with her mic and with her megaphone, she says, Deck. She says, Deck. Izuku Midoriya has a special power in him. You don't get it. He left school in the first place because he didn't want to make trouble for anyone. Yeah, good for him. He wants a break, so what? He doesn't gotta rest here. Civilians, I want to slap the taste out of your mouth. Shut up. You don't get to decide things. We were the ones who brought him back here. And then Midoriya says, Uraraka. That power of his? Yeah, it's really special. It's a power that exists to beat one for all. That's why they're after him. That's why he had to leave this place. He left and went through who knows what out there. Take a good look at him. And it shows the full body of Midoriya in all of his tatters. And his mom finally sees him. All the damage he suffered. Everything he suffered outside. More than anyone, he wishes he could fix everything. You're looking at a guy who could be attacked at any second but continues to move forward anyway. So really, look at him, please. And they all start to look at him. And then the woman that was saved by Midoriya from getting ganged up on by, Riley students and people just because of the way she looks, she's there standing there amongst all the people saying, it's him. It's the boy who saved me. Special powers are one thing, but there's no such thing as a special person. And then Bakugo says, we got this whole crazy defense system to protect these people, but they're still so scared. We're here to step in when you can't handle it all alone. And then Cementos is there. Plasm is there. Ghost Plasm. Ghost Plasm? I forget his name. Phanplasm? I forget his name. I forget the ghost guy's name. He's standing there with Principal Nezu, and then Principal Nezu is thinking, that single step feels like an impossible journey. And I believe once someone takes that unlikely step and carves a path, the ultimate hero will rise up, one who surpasses even Yagi, yes, even All Might himself. And it shows Uraraka there with her microphone at the top of the building speaking to all this people as the final panel for this chapter. Ooh, this is a good chapter. I like this one. Excited for this chapter. Darn, wow. Smart thinking, wow. Yeah, Michael. Yeah, Cinderon. It's a good chapter. Really good chapter. It just shows you that these civilians really are letting their fear grip them so much that they think, not only do they think they can dictate to these heroes and students that, hey, we don't want them here. We just want to feel safe. Not realizing that there's far more going on outside than just All for One trying to get his hands on Midoriya. But Midoriya's been fighting that whole time. Like, here's the thing, they don't care though. Like, he's saying, like, he's been fighting all this time. Just take a look at him. He just wants to find a place to rest and everything. And they're all like, yeah, good for him, but he doesn't have to rest here. Like, it's civilians like that can make people like Death Arms, and then the number 4 hero, or number 5 hero, and number 7 hero, the hero that we just met during the last hero rankings, causing them to retire and leave because civilians are just so toxic. And even though Principal Nezu, who pretty much formulated the entire plan of UA being able to be divided in sections and having a full miles long, like hundreds of miles worth of networking for any one of their buildings to go underground in order to stave off the decay quirk of Shigaraki. Mind you, Principal Nezu came up with this plan not knowing that Shigaraki's decay quirk would evolve to the extent that it is right now. He just went off of a gut feeling about a year ago. Like a solid year ago, he came up with this plan and put it into motion, and that's why UA is in the state it's in right now. Fully defendable from all things. Even if Shigaraki's decay quirk came into play, he would be able to formulate, they have plates involved that compress and make it so that everyone can be protected underneath these plates, just in case his decay quirk started to work. And Principal Nezu came up with so much contingency for the prospect of Shigaraki and All for One raiding UA High School. And not only that, he paid for it out of his own money. Can you imagine paying for all that networking, all those different mechanical things that comes with this plan of his out of your own pocket? That's like tens of thousands of hundreds of millions of yen that he had to put forth. But Midoriya is there And all the civilians are just voicing their frustration over their own peace. They don't care about anyone else's peace. They only care about their own. They don't care about the heroes. They're just saying, oh, you failed. You losers failed. You failed and let Japan get to the state it is right now. No hero could have known that this would happen. So you can't blame them. Then they say you failed again by letting this kid that All for One and Shigaraki are after right back here when we're trying to be safe. It's not their fault that Midoriya is tired. He has every right to be at UA. It's the civilians who don't really need to be there. They're there because the heroes want to protect them. Not because they have to be there. They're not owed protection. See, here I am going on a whole civilian tirade again. It's just that these chapters have really been showing the very, very ugly side of society. It can be just as cheerful, cheering you on as a hero, as it can be just as damaging, berating you and telling you that you're nothing as a hero, as they can be, I had to correct myself, as they can be cheering you on and praising you as a hero to protect them. It's just showing you that fear is a very strong emotion. And when people who have known nothing but peace after all this time are met with fear, that it tends to make them kind of stupid in the brain. It tends to obscure their judgment, especially now. All they see is the person that the villains who have pretty much ransacked most of Japan right now, they only see Midoriya as a person that's only going to bring danger to them. They don't understand what One for All is. They don't understand why All for One's trying to go after him. They don't understand why it's such a serious thing for Midoriya to be out there fighting, but then to come back and rest. They don't fully understand what Midoriya has been through. Sure, they see his tattered body. They see his damaged body. Even Izuku's mom sees his body after all this time, and she's just bawling in tears seeing her son in such a state of weariness and wear and tear and damage and blood and dirt and grime and everything. But they kind of don't care, because they're all like, well, he can rest, but it doesn't have to be here. As if they're still going to be safe without him there. Now, mind you, there's a lot of defenses. There's a lot of defenses that Principal Nezu put in place for UA in order to protect the civilians. And all the heroes have assured that they would be safe. Even Best Jeanist getting up there and saying, like, we know we said we would protect you, and that's exactly what we're going to do. The power that Midoriya has, it has the power to oppose All for One. But even so, he needs to rest. Just let him rest. Not only is his power one of massive significance, but it's what we need in the tide to turn the tide against the battle against the ultimate evil, against the future demon lord of Japan, against All for One. So allowing him to rest here is all he needs, really, in order for him to get back into the fight again. What are they going to do when Midoriya leaves? They're going to think that all's well that ends well, and everything's all peaceful now, and as soon as he comes back to rest a little bit, it's all like, this kid's back again, get him out of here, you're ruining our peace. And then when he leaves, we're peaceful again. Even though nothing really has changed. It's just Midoriya is outside. Like, think about it. Midoriya is inside of the walls. You got a problem with it. It still doesn't change the fact that All for One is still out there, along with Shigaraki, along with a whole bunch of other quirk-using individuals who could basically attack them at any time. It doesn't matter if Midoriya is in UA or not. That's not going to stop All for One from attacking any of you. That's not going to stop All for One saying, all right, Shigaraki, it's time that we just rot away their entire defense and attack them all over. That's not going to change it. That's not going to change the fact that All for One could just come for all of you at any time that he chose. It doesn't matter if Midoriya's in or outside of UA's walls. The civilians don't get that, though. They only see what is interrupting their current peace. See, that's the thing that these civilians are just kind of ignoring right now. They're ignoring the fact that, hey, everything's peaceful now, but it's not guaranteed. Even with all the heroes, even with All Might fighting All for One, that did not stop villains from being villains. There were still issues. There were still people using their quirks to cause problems for people, killing people and whatever. Just because a hero stopped one villain for one moment does not mean that everything is all peaceful. And this is the whole events of Shigaraki waking up and devastating everything everywhere and killing hundreds of people, it's kind of evidence that, hey, you got heroes, but that doesn't mean that they're your end-all, beat-all thing against villainy. Now, they're your main defense, but they're not your 100% guaranteed defense. Because heroes, there's no invincible person in this entire series. I'd be more scared of being attacked without Deku there, since he's such a hero. Like the villains would attack them just to get him to show up. Exactly, that's the thing. The civilians are not realizing that just because Midoriya is there does not guarantee that they're all in danger. Sure, All For One and Shigaraki are after him, but that doesn't mean that you're out of danger if Midoriya isn't around. You'd probably be better off if Midoriya was around. You'd probably be better off if you have the user of One For All with his many, many quirks in his body was around you to keep you safe rather than being away. Every time the civilians are mentioned, I like them less and less. Like, I don't think it's ever shown them doing anything good. Not really. There's only a handful of people. Like, there's a handful of people who are appreciative of what's going on. Like, Izuku's, Midoriya's mom. She's there. I'm pretty sure she doesn't feel any animosity towards the heroes or what Yue's doing. I'm pretty sure that, the woman that was saved by Midoriya, we don't get her name, we just know that she has like a peculiar, like, animalistic-like face, and she's also incredibly tall. I'm pretty sure that she is appreciative of them as well, and she wouldn't mind helping out as well. But the rest of the civilians who are there, who are just casting all of their fear and doubt and care and all of their hatred, pretty much, and anger onto the heroes, expecting them, like, hey, you're supposed to be heroes, you're supposed to be saving us, what are you doing, you're failing! Like, I said this all the time, peace has cost them their strength, victory has defeated them. Seriously, I can't think of another better Bane quote that would fit these civilians right now. They are so used to all this peace, so used to all of this tranquility that they've experienced when villains weren't attacking them, that now villains are attacking them. Bakugo is one of the most supportive civilians we've seen here. Seriously, the mothers of both Bakugo and Midoriya, and I would like to say Uraraka as well, they appear to be supportive, along with the woman that Midoriya saved when he was out patrolling, trying to find more hired guns. But all these civilians have grown so used to this peace that they literally expect it. They expect it to be maintained without any effort done on their part. That's the reason why the civilians are in the situation they're in right now. Like, I cheer more for the heroes and the people who are affiliated with the heroes than I do any singular civilian that has been in this entire series. Especially now. Because, see, here's the thing. The civilians, we see them every now and again. We see them cheering on the heroes. Okay, civilians, we see that. But now that things are literally in, like, endgame territory, and civilians are no longer in their peaceful environment that they've grown ever so used to, now we're seeing the ugly side of them. All their peace and tranquility is shattered, so now they have nothing to vent their frustration on except for the people who are doing everything they can to keep them protected. And even that's not good enough, because when they do something that the civilians don't like they have any say in the matter, they call the heroes losers. They call them failures. Not realizing that the heroes are still going out of their way to keep all the people who are still alive safe. And it just shows you that society as a whole has become so entitled, so jaded, so privileged, so pampered by being saved by heroes and being kept safe by heroes, by their own lives being kept, the status quo being that, hey, as long as the heroes are doing their job, I don't care what happens to them, frankly. Everything that makes their life worth living, as long as that's kept safe by the heroes, I don't care about anything else. Now they're in a state where they have to rely on these heroes now more than ever, and yet they still feel, and I know I'm going on a big rant right now because these civilians, they really do get on my nerves. They really are getting on my nerves in this series. Not saying that they're written horribly, because they're actually written quite well. They're written to make us root for the heroes more than anything. Like, I find myself being more sympathetic for villains and heroes in the story than the actual civilians that are caught up in the middle. Because they're caught up in the middle, and I frankly don't feel anything for these civilians, save for the ones who actually are appreciative of the efforts that are going on and understand the situation that's happening right now. I can't imagine how Eri and Koda feel. Koda, that's his name. Thank you, Kos. Thank you, Ko-Is. How Eri and Koda feel about the fact that the one who saved them is in so much turmoil and no one's trying to reach out to them the same way, or so it appears. Exactly. Can you imagine what it would look like for these civilians to be telling the very person that saved them and even causing Eri to know what it's like to smile again? And know what it's like for Koda to know what a hero looks like, seeing that person being berated and told to leave? Can you imagine what that would do to children? Because these are grown adults. These are grown adults. And they're acting like kids. Eri and Koda, I wouldn't say they understand the whole situation because Eri's not around in this area. Koda, he's out there in the open with, I believe, Ragdoll right now. And he's seeing all this stuff happen, seeing his hero that saved him from Muscular, the killer of his parents. He's seeing him being told to get lost, leave. But thankfully, despite how stupid the civilians behave, I'm thankful for people like Ida and Best Genus and Principal Nezu and President Mike and Uraraka, who pretty much steals this entire chapter in the last few chapters, saying like, hey, he has special powers, but that doesn't mean there's no such thing as a special person. He's doing everything he can to keep every one of you safe. Yes, it's dangerous, but he's doing everything he can for your sake. And the civilians, they're really not having it. They kind of don't care. It is no wonder that family members coming up in here interrupting my stream with sprites.
Sorry.
And you're fine. I'm messing with you. I love you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, you got me even slightly big fries too. I love y'all. Y'all got me some big fries too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I love my family so much. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to eat my food. And then when I'm done, then I'll do my reaction to One Piece for the episodes. But I am thankful that despite how dirty and how foul civilians are in this series, we have people like Uraraka going up against them saying like, hey, you can say all you want, but you don't know what's going on right here. I am glad. Oh my goodness. I am glad that the heroes are not bending a knee to these civilians and then complying with their demands. I am so glad that despite the protests of the civilians who have absolutely no say on what goes on in UA, save for, is that where you're sleeping? Okay, you can sleep there. I am so glad that there isn't a single hero who is siding with the civilians or is saying like, well, they are right. There isn't a single one who's done that. I am so glad that they all stuck with their beliefs, their ideals, and their decisions in keeping Midoriya in UA and keeping everyone safe. Because that is what a true hero, that's what a true hero does. The civilians don't understand because all they say is a person with superpowers saving me. That's all they see. They don't care about the emotional baggage that they may be carrying, or the mental baggage, or the physical fatigue that they could ever suffer. They only see this person can save me if I'm in danger. That's all that they see. But I'm glad that they don't bend the knee towards these civilians who frankly aren't really aren't offering anything in the ways of helping this effort go about, save for taking up space in UA. That's pretty much what the majority of these civilians are kind of doing right now. They're just taking up space. They're just taking up space. They're not doing anything beneficial for UA, save for taking up space and demanding that they be kept safe. That's it. So I'm glad we have heroes that, because a real hero, despite what the public may think of him, just think of them, not just he or she, but every spectrum. But despite what the public may think of a hero, if the hero continues to do good, continues to save lives, despite civilians saying like, well, you need to get out of here, we don't need you, and continues to persevere despite the society as a whole treating them as less than nothing, only as a person that should save them when they need saving and not care about their well-being afterwards, I am That is a mark of a true hero, a hero that continues to persevere despite not only the opposition going up against them, but even society going up against them as well. And continuing forward despite every little bad thing said about them from civilians who once praised them. That's what makes a true hero. Continuing forward despite what anyone else says. That includes the people that you save. That's what makes a true hero. I like that what he is showing is that the pro heroes look at Deku, the hero, the biggest asset to this war, while Uraraka is looking at Izuku Midoriya, the human being, and that makes a big difference. Exactly, because Best Jeanist treats Midoriya as not only, he treats him like, he's a person, but he's also their biggest, I guess, nuclear deterrent for All For One and any villains that are out there. But Uraraka sees him as Izuku Midoriya, a fellow UA student, my friend, a human being that we need to stick by, because that's what any human being would want. So you can see the juxtaposition here in this very same chapter, that the heroes, they see Midoriya in two different ways. Best Jeanist and the top heroes see him as the trump card that they need in the fight against All For One. Uraraka sees him as Izuku Midoriya, fellow UA student and human being that needs to get a rest and needs to wash himself and needs to get his clothes clean so he can, continue living as a human being, not just as a person who has the one for all quirk in his body and can fight All For One, but a person as well. So I'm actually wow, this is really good chapter. It's a really good chapter. It shows you it also shows you it's still the differing views between the heroes themselves, as they show that Midoriya is a tool to be used and a person to fight against All For One by some of the heroes. Like Best Jeanist sees him like, yeah, we're here to defend you, and Midoriya is our best thing that we have, the best asset we have against All For One. And Uraraka sees Midoriya as a person who needs to rest and needs their support in order to, for him to be ready to fight as well. But it's more so about him being a human being versus him being a quirk user that can continue fighting. So it just shows you the many differences in views, not just with the civilians, but between heroes as well. So thank you, Koiz. Also, Lucky 1017, welcome. You're coming in at the tail end of the stream. I love this series because it makes me speak more about things that happen on a psychological level concerning the civilians and the heroes and the villains that are going on in this story, and it makes me see things in a much broader perspective. I don't think I've ever had this much broad of a perspective concerning something as significant as society and the people that live in it as much as My Hero Academia. And I'm glad that I take this time. Like, how long have I gone for? I've been on this about as possibly longer than my One Piece reaction as well. But this is a great story, and Horikoshi knows exactly how to write it as well, because it makes you feel for heroes, it makes you feel for villains. But at this point right now, it is not making me feel anything for the civilians, especially right now, because they are at their absolute worst. And think about it. Once all is said and done and peace has been restored, then the civilians are going to be like, yeah, he's our hero. Even though beforehand you were telling everyone and getting everyone to join you in saying, we don't need this kid around here. He's just putting us in danger. But as soon as everything's all said and done, All For One's been beaten. Shigaraki's been beaten. And then peace is restored to all of Japan. Then there's going to be all happy and smiles. All like, oh yeah, we're safe now. Having offered absolutely nothing to the effort whatsoever. So at this point, sure, it's a hero's job to save civilians, but I don't like any of them, to be quite honest with you. I only like the ones that actually understand what the heroes are going through and are actually appreciative of their efforts. All the ones who are saying like, hey, you heroes are losers, you're failures. Japan's in a state it's in right now because of you, and now you brought the one thing that All For One and Shigaraki are searching for to our safety space? Nah, we don't need that. Yeah, I don't care about those civilians. Because every single chapter, every single time I see, I detest some of these civilians as much as I detest the king of the Clover Kingdom from Black Clover. That's how much I don't like these civilians. Because every time the king shows up in the anime, and I caught up to the English dub of the anime, I got to catch up to the sub as well so I can see those episodes. Every single time the king shows up, he only speaks of his achievements and thinks he's the center of attention. And I get tired of that king every single time I see him. I get tired of these civilians every single time I see them because they seem to think that they're the center of attention and they need to be doted on and protected above all else, not paying attention to how the heroes feel above all this that's going on right now. So I detest the civilians, the privileged civilians, because there are some that are appreciative of heroes, but they're not seen as often as the ones who voice their concerns and complain and moan and groan. I put them in the same category as the King of the Clover Kingdom from Black Clover, and I hate them both equally. I hate people equally. If I hate you as much as the King from the Clover Kingdom, then the civilians of My Hero Academia who think they're high and mighty and get to decide things and demand things are in that same category. So that's all I got to say about that. But overall, I am enjoying this story. And I really hope someone puts these civilians in their place. Not just let them go about their business and let them murmur. I really hope someone tells them to shut up! I really hope someone comes along and says that to them. Because they really need that kick in the pants and understand that, hey, you're being protected by these superheroes, but that doesn't mean you get to demand anything of these heroes who have gone out of their way to protect you. You have even less heroes right now. I think that societal structure will change by the end of the series. Hopefully, they will learn to stop casting the burden on one person's shoulders and start working in tandem with the heroes. I hope so as well, because society has to change if they do not want to go back to the way things were, because this pretty much this current society of My Hero Academia pretty much orchestrated, pretty much led to this moment. If it wasn't for society being so conceited and cared about themselves, Shigaraki would not be following under All for One. And then we would not be in this situation where Shigaraki is being groomed by All for One to be his successor, his next new vessel. If it wasn't for society being so trash right now. But that's their own fault. So yes, I'm looking forward to societal structure change as well. But that's all I got for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. This was yet another great chapter. I feel like it makes these chapters of My Hero Academia, especially with these recent chapters, make me read in between the lines even more than before due to how it's structured and how the world building is set up and how character development goes about. It just makes me very appreciative of bringing this series to my channel. But that's all I got for you guys. It's an absolute honor to react to something like this for you guys. I feel nothing but absolute joy whenever I react to My Hero Academia and One Piece as well. And the support you continue to show for this channel means the absolute world to me. I am nothing but humbled by the success of this channel and all the successes it has brought me. And I look forward to being ever more humble as I continue to bring you more content that you guys enjoy. So with that being said, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then consider subscribing because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.